The history of Israel and Palestine is one of the most complex and emotionally charged in the world. For centuries, this land has been a crossroads of cultures, religions, and empires, and the modern conflict is rooted in centuries of history. Today, we're exploring the deep and intricate history of this region, from ancient times to the present day, and unraveling the key events that have shaped the conflict that continues to this day. How did a small strip of land come to hold such immense religious and historical importance? The roots of the Israel-Palestine conflict stretch back thousands of years to the biblical era. Ancient Canaan, which later became Israel and Judea, is the setting for many of the key stories in the Torah, Bible, and Quran. It was in this region that the ancient Israelites established Jerusalem as their capital, and the city quickly became a center for Judaism, followed by Christianity, and later Islam. Jerusalem's religious significance grew as it became home to sacred sites like the First and Second Temples, the Western Wall, the Dome of the Rock, and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The region changed hands many times, controlled by the Egyptians, Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, and Romans. Each empire left its mark on the land, and by the 7th century, the Arab Islamic caliphates had brought the region under Islamic control, solidifying its significance for Muslims worldwide. The small strip of land became a religious hub for 3 major religions, setting the stage for future conflicts over control of the Holy Land. What triggered the waves of Jewish immigration to Palestine that would later change the region forever? For nearly 400 years, Palestine was under the control of the Ottoman Empire. During this time, the region was a mix of Arabs and Jews living under Islamic rule. However, in the late 19th century, a new movement called Zionism emerged in Europe. Jewish people, facing persecution and discrimination in various countries, began to seek a homeland where they could live in safety. Many of them looked to their historical roots in Palestine. Waves of Jewish immigration began in the late 1800s, with settlers establishing small communities throughout the region. As Jewish immigration increased, tension began to rise between the incoming settlers and the Arab population, which saw the influx as a threat to their land and livelihood. These tensions would escalate significantly in the decades to come. The promise of a safe homeland sparked waves of immigration, but this also sowed the seeds of future conflict with the existing Arab population. How did a secret British promise after World War I lead to deeper divisions in Palestine? After World War I, the Ottoman Empire fell, and the British took control of Palestine under a mandate from the League of Nations. But what many don't know is that during the war, the British made conflicting promises to both Arabs and Jews. In the Balfour Declaration of 1917, Britain expressed support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. At the same time, the British had also promised Arab leaders independence if they supported the war effort against the Ottomans. This contradictory diplomacy set the stage for growing conflict. Under British rule, Jewish immigration continued, leading to rising tensions and violent clashes between Jews and Arabs. The British struggled to maintain order, and by the 1930s, the situation in Palestine had become increasingly unstable. Britain's conflicting promises to Arabs and Jews during World War I sowed the seeds of deeper division, ultimately leading to unrest and violence in the region. Why did the creation of Israel lead to immediate war and long-lasting displacement? In 1947, after years of conflict, the United Nations proposed a partition plan to divide Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states, with Jerusalem under international control. The Jewish community accepted the plan, but the Arab leaders rejected it, seeing it as unjust and favoring Jewish interests. In 1948, David Ben-Gurion declared the independence of the State of Israel. Almost immediately, neighboring Arab countries, including Egypt, Jordan, and Syria, invaded, marking the start of the First Arab-Israeli War. The war ended with a decisive Israeli victory, but at a great human cost. hundreds of thousands of Palestinians fled or were expelled from their homes, creating a refugee crisis that remains unresolved to this day. For Israel, the war solidified its existence as a nation, but for the Palestinians, it marked the beginning of a decades-long struggle for self-determination. The creation of Israel and the war that followed led to mass displacement, setting the stage for one of the most enduring conflicts in modern history. Why has peace remained so elusive despite decades of negotiations? Since 1948, there have been numerous attempts to resolve the conflict between Israel and Palestine. The 1967 Six-Day War, in which Israel captured the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem, further complicated the situation. The peace process has seen moments of hope, such as the Camp David Accords in 1978 and the Oslo Accords in the 1990s, but each attempt has ultimately faltered. One of the key obstacles to peace has been the issue of Israeli settlements in the West Bank, which Palestinians see as an encroachment on their land. The rise of extremism on both sides, ongoing violence, and differing visions for the future have made it difficult to reach a lasting agreement. Despite decades of negotiations, the path to peace remains uncertain. Decades of failed peace talks, coupled with ongoing disputes over land, have kept the conflict alive, making peace an elusive goal. Here's a bonus fact you may not know. At the heart of the Israel-Palestine conflict lies the city of Jerusalem, a city sacred to Jews, Christians, and Muslims. Since 1967, Israel has claimed all of Jerusalem as its capital, while Palestinians see East Jerusalem as the future capital of their own state. This ongoing dispute over the control and status of Jerusalem continues to be one of the most contentious issues in any peace negotiations. How did a war that lasted just 6 days change the entire geopolitical landscape of the Middle East? In 1967, the Six-Day War saw Israel face off against Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. Against the odds, Israel achieved a decisive victory, capturing the West Bank, Gaza Strip, East Jerusalem, the Sinai Peninsula, and the Golan Heights. This lightning-fast conflict shifted the balance of power in the region, and with it came major territorial gains for Israel. But these gains also came at a cost: escalating tensions and the displacement of even more Palestinians. The Six-Day War set the stage for ongoing disputes over occupied territories, dramatically complicating the path to peace by increasing Israeli control over lands claimed by Palestinians. How did Palestinian nationalism rise and erupt into widespread rebellion? As Israel expanded, Palestinian resistance intensified. In the late 20th century, Palestinian nationalism gained momentum, leading to the First Intifada in 1987, a popular uprising marked by civil disobedience, protests, and violence. The conflict was a direct response to Israeli occupation in the West Bank and Gaza. A decade later, the Second Intifada erupted, with even more devastating effects, including suicide bombings, Israeli military incursions, and thousands of casualties on both sides. These uprisings highlighted the deep-rooted frustrations of the Palestinian people, cementing the conflict as one of the world's most intractable struggles and making peace more elusive than ever. The history of Israel and Palestine is one of the most intricate and deeply emotional conflicts in the world. Yet, it remains a place of immense cultural and historical significance. From the ancient roots of religious ties to the land, through the partition plans of the 20th century, to the wars and uprisings that have scarred the region, the history of Israel and Palestine is as complex as it is tragic. Every major event, from the creation of Israel to the Six-Day War, and from the rise of Palestinian nationalism to the ongoing occupation, has added new layers to this deeply entangled conflict. Today, the situation remains one of the most complicated and divisive in global politics, with both sides holding fast to their claims to the land. Despite numerous attempts at peace negotiations, the core issues, borders, the status of Jerusalem, the right of return for refugees, and security concerns, remain unresolved. Ultimately, the Israel-Palestine conflict persists because it's not just about territory, it's about identity, history, and survival. Both Israelis and Palestinians continue to fight for their place in the land, and until there's a mutual recognition of each side's humanity, a lasting peace will remain tragically elusive. But as history has shown, even the most entrenched conflicts can eventually find pathways to peace, though the road ahead remains long and uncertain. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more historical deep dives. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.